I swear to God, I'm throwing all this shit right in the garbage.
It's my hobby, Janice. Why you gotta belittle it?
Will you just get ready, please?
You go. I gotta work.
Hello there, welcome back to I Suck at Video Games, and today we are kickstarting our first series of games for our recap review series. That series will be the Mafia trilogy of games, although depending when this video is released, that series may now be a quadrilogy, with Mafia the Old Country releasing in early August. For these videos, we will be doing the original trilogy of games, and then we'll tackle the fourth one later on and give people, enough time to play that game before sitting down for my review for it. So obviously, we will be beginning this series with Mafia the Definitive Edition, a remade version of the original game that was released back in 2002 by Illusion Softworks. The remake was released in 2020 by Hangar 13, and I was a literal infant when the original came out, so my actual first taste of this series was Mafia 2, which was made by 2K Czech. It's kinda confusing, not gonna lie. Mafia 2 still stands as one of my favorite games of the 360 PS3 era, so when the remastered version of the first game came out, I jumped at the chance to play it. The story of Mafia 1 follows Tommy Angelo, a cab driver turned mobster living in the fictional city of Lost Heaven, which is our stand-in for Chicago, Illinois. I love when a game has a fully realized fictional city. I just think it adds an interesting shade to the story. Like, you can tell what the cities are meant to be, they wear their inspirations on their sleeves, but it still feels unique in a way. The remade version of this game looks fucking immaculate during its cutscenes, and lots of effort and work was put into remaking those scenes for modern hardware, and the definitive editions of both games were made by Hangar 13. The voice acting within this game is tremendous. The characters are interesting and voiced extremely well in my opinion. My only knock against the characters is that they feel a little bit cliche. Not like stereotypical Italians, but cliche in terms of the character traits they have as members of organized crime. But we'll discuss more of that throughout the video, of course. As the title of this video suggests, I strongly believe this game, and really the series as a whole, to be the quintessential Mafia/mobster experience in video games. Across all forms of media, there are various examples of Mafia or mobster stories being told that are beloved. When we look at movies, most people will instantly think of the Godfather series or Goodfellas. On television, the obvious choice is The Sopranos, a fantastic show that ran for 6 seasons that I have recently become a huge fan of.
I'm losing my balls over here! This fucking moron's playing Hazel!
So when we look at the world of video games, there is nobody that can contest with the Mafia series as being the standard for a mob story in video games. There's actually not that many other choices unless you count Empire of Sin, if you played that. With that being said, this is your standard spoiler warning for this video. This game is technically a couple decades old, and even the remade version is 5 years old, so these videos will dive deep into the story, going along in order, reviewing the mechanics, characters, and plotline as the story progresses, so again, you have officially been warned. Before we begin though, I will of course implore you to subscribe if you're new here, and if you like long form content such as this. If you like Mafia or just enjoy the video, then I will kindly ask that you like the video to help boost it in that glorious algorithm. But with all that being said, the preamble is finished and we are now ready to start, so let's crack open the books and dive into the crime-ridden world of the Mafia series, beginning with Mafia, the Definitive Edition. Our story begins with a gorgeous cinematic showing off the city of Lost Heaven. The devs put a lot of effort into crafting this pretty authentic 1930s Prohibition-era world. From the people you interact with, the setting, the vehicles, and even down to things such as the radio broadcasts are very inspired and done well. When the cinematic ends, we see a figure stepping off a train and making his way towards a diner. This is Detective John Norman, a cop who has been investigating the death of a Don Marcu Morello, and he's meeting up with our protagonist Tommy, who is ready to talk and give details to Norman to ensure him and his family's safety. This sets up our wraparound framing device. Essentially, each chapter you play within the game is Tommy retelling the events to Norman. Throughout the game, it will cut back to the two sitting in the diner and discussing things. It's an interesting framing device to jump in between events because the various chapters cover practically a whole decade, and there are a few time jumps within the story, but nothing more than a few years at a time until the very end. Here, Norman and Angelo begin talking, and Norman wants to know everything. He's skeptical at first if Angelo will be giving him new or good intel for his investigation, so he wants to know everything from the beginning. So Tommy begins talking and brings us to the night where he met Paulie Lombardo and Sam Trapani. Tommy was simply waiting for a fare and having a dart next to his taxi when Sam and Paulie come barreling in from nowhere. They were ambushed by members of the Morello crime family. Tommy is then forced to aid in their escape because Sam puts a gun to his head and tells him to get moving. The mission here is simple. You're a cab driver, so fucking drive. The driving mechanics in the game are fine, I guess. It's hard to criticize it because I feel as if the steering difficulty and jank is on purpose to replicate how older vehicles would handle in these situations. It feels as if everyone is driving a Jeep Wrangler. Oh, the Jeep Wrangler. A vehicle that is marketed for off-roading but is instead driven by middle-aged women who collect rubber ducks. One thing I will say flat out, the NPC drivers in this game will send you fucking insane, especially in those later missions where Tommy has to escape from cops on a high wanted level and it's very hectic. They will constantly, and I mean constantly, get in your way and there's nothing you can do about it. They will steer right into your path and hit you when you're trying to make an escape. It's like nobody has a sense of self-preservation. Oh, and the trolleys? Don't get me fucking started on the trolleys. But anyways, you succeed in taking Sam and Paulie back to Salieri's restaurant, which is the home base of the Salieri crime family. The Don and his boys are very appreciative of Tommy's driving and his efforts in bringing the boys home relatively safe. He is given some money to help repair his damaged vehicle, and Sam gives him the money and advises him to keep the events tonight between themselves. That then concludes the opening chapter. This chapter format does make the game feel a little short, but it's actually not. It feels very linear, but by all means, you are more than welcome to free roam and explore in between objectives, and there's even a free ride, free roam mode, and it has its own set of side missions. Another thing to keep in mind is that this game and its sequels do a very good job of lulling you into a false sense of security or boredom, depending on which way you look at it. You could think the mission you're on is very simple. You think you're just going to be completing some fares as a cabbie, and the next minute you're running for your life through Little Italy as Morello's goons try to take Tommy out for helping Sam and Paulie the previous night. This results in Tommy running straight to Salieri's restaurant, where Sam and Paulie happen to be right outside when you arrive, and they take care of your problem. I will say Sam and Paulie are both good characters, but for different reasons. I find Paulie is this mobster character that truly enjoys the spoils the life can bring, and he's also deeply irresponsible, as it's kind of mentioned throughout the story. Sam, however, is the more loyal and grounded of the two, and I also find the voice acting for both of them to be very solid. Sam is voiced by Don DePetta, and Paulie is voiced by Jeremy Luke, who both do a terrific job. Tommy being saved here by Sam and Paulie begins the slippery slope into the mob world for Mr. Angelo, as the next chapter gives him an opportunity to get some payback on the guys who attacked him. You go with Paulie to Morello's restaurant in North Park to do a little vehicular damage yourself. Beforehand, though, you are introduced to the other supporting characters that help make up the Salieri crime family. We meet my personal favorites in Vincenzo and Ralphie. Vincenzo is the weapons guy in the family, and you typically go see him to get new weapons or throwables such as your bat and the Molotov cocktails. Ralphie is the mechanic, though don't confuse this Ralphie for the other more notable member of the mob named Ralphie.
Hey, she was a hooah.
The way Paulie describes Ralphie makes him sound like a savant of cars, and he very well could have a sort of autism, but he really just comes off like a guy with a stutter and a limp. So Paulie and Tommy are now off to smash up some vehicles and get back at Dino and the others who attacked Tommy. This goes pretty well, as you can imagine. Really, these few opening chapters are small tutorials for different aspects of the game. First, you learn driving, then sprinting and obstacles, and now in this mission, you will learn the basics of weapons and throwables as you must smash up the vehicles and then throw some cocktails at them to finish the job. This results in Tommy and Paulie stealing Dino's nice car out of the garage and driving off, which creates a little bit of a chase, but obviously you get away. This then bleeds into Tommy joining the Salieri family, and it happens really easily and super fast, lacking any tradition. Tommy is welcomed into the fold by Ennio Salieri himself, and we get to meet other individuals such as consigliere Frank Coletti. Next up, we have the mission entitled Ordinary Routine, as you get to see more of the day-to-day business the Salieri family deals with, and it turns out it's collection day. So Tommy is to drive Sam and Polly around to make stops at various locations to get that sweet, sweet protection money. First stop is a local bakery, no problems there, get our money, get cussed out by an Italian grandmother, and leave. Easy peasy. We then take a trip to Chinatown where Polly has to set the record straight with a nephew of a man named Eugene. See, Eugene retired and handed the business down, and the new guy ain't cooperating, so Polly has to take matters into his own hands, and it's all off screen.
Yeah, Eugene's nephew ain't having much fun right now. When he's going, Polly don't stop. Once we were putting a squeeze on this tailor over in Holbrook. The guy ended up in a wheelchair.
Lastly, we then head off to the country to visit Clark's motel. This motel is a big earner for the family, so it's vital that we get this envelope. You stop to fill up outside the motel and disregard the no smoking sign as Sam and Polly go in to collect. A gunshot goes off and Tommy springs into action, and Polly exits the building bleeding from his side and tells Tommy that Sam was taken by the guys inside. Looks like it's Morello's crew encroaching upon our rackets. Tommy then has to sneak and fight his way into the motel to rescue Sam, and before you left on this mission, Vinny had given Tommy a quick tutorial on how to shoot, so you can shoot these guys and take them out to save Sam. You don't have to like stealth take them all down. Again, we see that the game makes you think that it's a simple or boring mission, but it always escalates, and I like that. When this mission ends, we get our first intermission, or intermezzo as it's referred to in-game. This is just going to be a cutback to the wraparound plot of Tommy and Detective Norman talking in the diner. At this point in the conversation, Tommy is still trying to convince Norman to keep hearing him out. What's interesting though is as their conversation goes on, Norman is actually getting a lot of answers for his own investigation, and it adds an interesting dynamic to the conversation between him and Tommy. Tommy then brings up some proof of Don Morello's control over the city of Lost Heaven and how he has paid off a good deal of the policemen and even some politicians in the city. Tommy then tells the story of Joey Crackers, great name by the way, a boxer that was beaten and killed in broad daylight by an angry Morello in front of 2 police officers. Norman then tries to brush it off, stating that Morello made money every time Crackers took a fall in a match, and Tommy agrees with that, but was simply illustrating a fact that Morello not only had great power and control over Lost Heaven, but that he also had a temper and couldn't think straight in those moments. So Norman bites, and Tommy continues with his story as he begins admitting that the more he got involved with the family, the more fun was had. The next mission in the game might be the most infamous one in this game's history. The next chapter is entitled Fair Play. The whole crux of this chapter is a race. You may have heard of this legendarily difficult race to complete. The race is heralded as being hard to win, partly because of the poor driving controls and mechanics in the game, like I said earlier. For this mission, Tommy is tasked with sabotaging the car that will be driven by Morello's team, and both Salieri and Morello have a car in the race, so naturally, it's time to be a saboteur. Speaking of which, that's a game that deserves a recap review at some point. Ralphie is key for this mission. You go talk to him and he gives you the entire layout of the plan. Tommy must drive to the garage at the racetrack where he is to meet a security guard who is with the Salieri family. He will then let Tommy into the Morello garage and take their vehicle. Tommy is then to take this to Lucas Bertone and he will tune the car, we say that with quotation marks, and he will get it all ready for race day. You then just have to drive back to the garage and place the vehicle back in there. The catch is that there's a time limit, as you have to do all of this while the guard is still on duty. His shift ends at the end of the timer, and the next guard, well, he's an ass. It's pretty fun, I'll admit. You can whip this race car through the streets. You can try to avoid the police, but it's kind of funnier to be seen just to hear the radio call out. You bring the car to Lucas Bertone and he works his magic, offers up his services to the Don in the future, and then Tommy takes the vehicle back. If I'm not mistaken, Lucas Bertone shows up in some of the free ride, free roam missions. Now the car handles horribly, struggles to change gears, and overheats incredibly fast, so making it back before the timer expires is a little trickier, but nothing difficult. After that, it's race day, and the whole Salieri family is taking in the race and enjoying the illegal festivities. However though, slight problem. Frank comes to talk to Tommy and tell him that the driver for their car was actually attacked last night and beaten by Morello's guys, so naturally, Tommy is the replacement driver. So I won't pitter-patter too much, here it is, the infamous race from Mafia the Definitive Edition. And I'll be completely honest with you guys, the first time I played this game a few years ago, I completed the race first try, really no issues beyond some bumps here and there. Maybe that's not true, I was bumping motherfuckers left, right, and center to stay on the racetrack, but you know what they say, if you're not bumping, you're not racing, or whatever the phrase is, you know, raise hell, praise Dale. This time, however, I fucked up a few times and also just had too much fun with that one jump you can do. So the race this time did take me like 3 to 4 tries to complete, but that's entirely on me, not the game. Also, if you have any complaints over the gameplay you see in the background, in particular my aim, please see the name of the channel. Just remember, it's not a gimmick, it's a fact. Anyway, some interesting things to know about this race is that Morello hired a ringer for the race, some European champion, so clearly the odds were already stacked in his favor. Also, if you happen to pay attention to the other drivers in the race, you'll notice a lot of other cars that happen to be red will become disabled at one point, so it looks like Morello's guys tried to sabotage you, but picked the wrong red car. Tommy then wins the race and the family celebrates together, and all is well until you get the lovely reminder that this is Prohibition-era United States because Paulie is completely sozzled in public and we have to get him home before somebody calls the police on him. Slight problem though, we don't know exactly where Paulie is, so you have to ask around the racetrack for him and pinpoint his location. You can ask people like Sam and others, and then eventually you can find him and then take him home. Also, in this part of the mission, we can see that Tommy and Sarah share a look at one another. Sarah, who helps run the bar at Salieri's, is the daughter of Luigi, another side character in the Salieri family. Sarah is an integral part of Tommy Angelo's story. He mentions earlier to Norman that he's looking to protect his wife and daughter, the wife being Sarah. So this section of the game will explore the beginning of their relationship. The next mission is also entitled Sarah. In this chapter, you simply must walk her home in the streets of Lost Heaven. Luigi asked Tommy to do this because there are some punks in the neighborhood that continue to harass her, and Luigi wants her to have some protection. The chapter starts off mundane as usual. They have a fun conversation as Sarah drops off some food for a local family. I gotta say though, I really love the dynamic between Tommy and Sarah within this game. It's really endearing, and I think they display a strong chemistry as a believable couple. It gets better as the game goes on, and their relationship adds a sense of humanity to Tommy's story.
That's all you got? You spend all this time with a lady killer like Sam Trapani, and the best line you got is, "Good night for a walk anyways"?
Well, it is, ain't it?
Yeah, I guess so. I think he knows anyway.
Luigi? Nah.
These guys have been creeps to me for weeks. But I didn't tell you as I know what you like. I mentioned it to Dad this one time, and all of a sudden he gets you to be my knight in shining armor. So yeah, he knows.
Huh. Well, like I say, means there's no problem with me.
If he did, you wouldn't last long. I know what happened to all the other guys I dated. I helped hide the bodies.
When you arrive at her apartment, the gaggle of douches are waiting for her outside and try to intimidate you immediately. Naturally, this ends in a fight and you have to beat them up, and I personally use the metal pipe laying nearby and beat the fuck out of these guys. You defeat the goons and you have unfortunately been wounded. Sarah brings you up to her apartment to get you stitched up, and the moment is actually pretty sweet. If this was like, Grand Theft Auto, then the result is going to be sex, and even in the original game, I'm pretty sure that's what the result of this scene is, but in this remake version, the scene plays out in a sweet way with the two embracing each other for warmth on her couch as the chapter ends. In the next chapter, after Don Salieri finds out what happened, he orders the boys to go find out where those punks live and teach them a serious lesson. Not kill them, but, seriously maim them, if anything. We gotta ask questions and get a pinpoint on the possible hangout spot for these guys, so that brings us to Chinatown to go see Biff, who runs a pawn shop and is an associate of the family. Biff luckily knows exactly where they happen to be. The guys hang out at an old service station, so that's where we head to go bust some heads. We waste zero time as shortly after we find these guys, people start taking bats to the head. After the first bit of fighting with the bat, the punks make a bad decision to open fire on Tommy and Paulie, so now motherfuckers gotta die. Rather horribly. The two main cheese fucks we're trying to get escape in a car, so naturally we steal a car and chase after them. You can't technically catch them or disable their car, but you have to keep up long enough to see them wreck their car. Tommy and Paulie get out to finish the job, but Tommy hesitates when one of the guys named Billy tries to plead for his life. Paulie puts a fucking stop to that though and kills him and puts a shot in the other guy for good measure. He reminds Tom what those guys wanted to do to Sarah and that they deserve what was coming to them. This is the first instance we see that Tommy has a reluctance to take a life, and this does set him apart from other people in the family. It's something that we will see more of within the story. This whole thing may seem inconsequential at first, but it turns out that that's far from the case. Don Salieri informs Tommy and Polly that the kid they went after and killed happened to be the son of a prominent city council member named Gelati. It also turns out that the second guy in the car that they shot one time survived the attack and pulled through. Salieri is mostly pissed because this gives Morello more leverage in the city, as this will no doubt drive Gelati into the arms of Morello. To make matters worse, Frank also informs us about a gentleman's club / hotel that has recently decided to stop doing business with us in favor of Morello. So now it's time to tie up some loose ends. Tommy and Sam enact a plan to deal with the survivor named Johnny. Sam will attend the funeral at St. Michael's Church and try to kill Johnny, while Tommy will go to the hotel / gentleman's club and deal with the manager and also blow up the establishment. Seems simple enough, right? Well, on the way there with Sam breaks it to Tommy that he knows one of the girls there and wouldn't want her to get hurt. He asks Tommy to find her and give her a stern warning to leave town. And Sam also mentions that, he may or may not have told her some insider information during his visits with her. The woman, Michelle, was actually seen with Sam at the racetrack. So now Tommy has to find this woman, Michelle, and get her to leave before blowing up the building. You do have to do some searching and sleuthing to find where Michelle is, and Tommy does not fuck around when he finally finds her and when it comes to scaring her and making his point. Michelle then thanks Tommy for sparing her life and she runs off. So now you just have to whack the manager of the hotel, which will kick off a long combat sequence as you have to fight your way upstairs to the manager's office to plant that bomb. The shooting mechanics in the game are fine. I feel like the gun should be more effective. I feel like it sometimes takes too many bullets to take out your enemies, and there's times where I died because the guy would just be like fine after taking 5 shots to the chest and then take me out when I was low on health, so that was kind of annoying. Sometimes my shots were also consistently missing. The game does give you options for aim assist, and I played with it on low, so that did affect my gameplay, but at the same time, that's a skill issue, so I can't complain too much about that, but the damage factor, that is worth complaining about. So Tommy has to fight his way upstairs and then fight through courtyards and make it to the office to plant the bomb. However, though, in that time, the cops have been attracted to the hotel and Tommy is now cornered upstairs. His only escape route is... So now you just escape through the rooftops and evade and fight police on the rooftops to get to the church so you can get Sam. Unfortunately, though, Sam hasn't done his job yet. The funeral is still going on and the priest is just giving his eulogy. The surviving Johnny is standing up near the front and notices Tommy hiding in a doorway. This begins another big combat sequence as he immediately recognizes Tommy as one of the attackers. You must chase Johnny around the church, taking out Morello's muscle protecting him. One thing that I will give the game credit for, but it's also kind of a piss off, is that the AI is pretty intelligent in a firefight. They will constantly try to flank you and also flush you out of cover. The biggest piss off is when the enemies throw Molotov cocktails at you when you're low on health in cover. So you chase this guy around the church and try shooting him, and you finally get him where you want him, and once you shoot him, a cutscene starts and the guy just disappears for a second. The priest then immediately attempts to intervene and guilt trip Tommy for committing murder in the house of God. That motherfucker you just shot is back up and has a gun pointed right at you and attempts to take you out.
You bastard. If you have any confessions to make, you better do it quick.
No more bloodshed, please!
I'm sorry, Father. Consider this an act of divine retribution.
That make us even.
So now with those loose ends tied up, it's time to scram. This was one of the hardest missions in the game for me simply because trying to get away with Sam here was ridiculously challenging for next to no reason. For one, the cops are really aggressive, but I also experienced some glitches where Sam just wouldn't move from cover or just sat out in the open and the cops would just pick me apart while waiting for him, or in the time it took him to open the door, we would just get shot to shit. But luckily, it only took a few tries and I was able to succeed. During the escape, we also confirmed to Sam that we took care of Michelle and got her out of there. That completes the chapter and then leads us right into the next intermezzo with Detective Norman. Norman is amazed at the balls of Tommy for admitting to the shootout in the church, and Tommy was more surprised that nothing happened from it directly. Tommy then says that the boys just stayed the course and laid low for the next few months at the bar while things shaped up. While they were laying low though, Morello asserted more control over the city and even moved in on some of Salieri's rackets.
You know I could take you in right now, put you behind bars till you're old and grey.
Maybe, if you think you can make any of it stick. But then you'd never know about Morello.
Hey, fellas, sorry to keep you waiting. My shift just started. What you having?
2 lunch specials, please. And more coffee. You know what? Let's bring the whole pot.
Tommy then moves into a story about a conversation he has with Frank about using their money they earn in the industry. Frank advises him on how to behave and present himself in public, while also giving him some backstory on himself, but also his relationship with Don Salieri. We're reaching the point of the story where Frank gets more involved. It's very short, but it's still very important.
I don't care about the bar fight, Tom. I care how it looks when you walk into a club and buy everyone around.
We gotta do something with our dough.
Then blow it at the track on Sunday. Or take a dame to a show. Or invest it for Christ's sake.
You want me to become one of those Wall Street boys?
Don't sass me, Tommy. I'm trying to teach you the ropes, so you don't get strangled by them. I was 8 or 9 before I came over from Sicily. I had this beautiful skinny Cerneco dell'Etna. Like a little greyhound. Fastest dog you've ever seen. That's how I met the Don. We started setting up races together, betting on her with coins and rifle shells. There wasn't another dog that could catch her. She never lost. Until the day she did. We were only out a pocket knife, but I never saw the Don so angry.
She got old on you?
No. Pregnant. She went into heat, got out of the yard, and every dog in town had a turn. You're like that dog, Tommy. Every time you flash your money around, you're a bitch in heat, and everyone in that club is now looking to fuck you. And once you get fucked, you're no good to us. Because you need to think about your career here. Look, Paulie's hit his ceiling. He's the guy we want in a tussle, but he's not smart enough to run anything. Sam is loyal, but he has no vision. But you, Tommy, you could run this town someday.
Well, I appreciate that, Frank. So, what happened to the dog?
The Don tried to drown her. I broke his nose.
The next mission of the story, Frank is sending Tommy to aid Sam and Paulie on a deal with some Canadians bringing some whiskey down. You then go meet Paulie at the Salieri warehouse and take off the farm together to meet Sam and the Canadians. This mission is one of my personal favorites in the entire game. The night setting in the middle of a rainstorm is nice to look at from a graphic sense. The sound design of the environment and weather is well done, and the mission itself has a unique sense of tension that most of the other missions do not have, so it really helps it stand out. I mention that because when you arrive at the farm to find Sam, he's nowhere to be found and the place is looking oddly deserted. Paulie sends Tommy to search around the dimly lit farm to look for signs of Sam or where the Canadians could be. To add to that uneasy feeling, you find blood, random notes and telegrams about the exchange, and you also find a dead dog. That fucking sucks. Eventually, you find a truck towards the back of the farm and go to speak to the driver inside, and when you open the door, he falls out dead. Tommy is then surprised by some suits and they corner him and Tommy has to fight them off. You can tell pretty quickly by the words they're using that it's not just some regular guys in the Morello family. These are actually border security agents just on Morello's payroll, of course. You must then fight them off in the storm and continue looking for Sam and the rest of the Canadians. It must be late April because the Canucks have been eliminated, and eventually you find Sam still alive but fighting for his life. He's in a different barn firing down at the border agents. At the moment we spotted Sam, he's hit and we have to rescue him. You're able to make it to Sam by taking out the agents, and then you must defend Sam while Paulie goes to get the truck to get you guys out of there. More police show up and you gotta place some form of police tower defense and keep them from reaching you and Sam on the top floor of the barn. You are given some more ammo and even some cocktails at your disposal. Once we fend off that wave of police, we get into the truck and try to make an escape, where we find out the police have a new toy. So now we have to take out an armored vehicle and its many support vehicles and also dudes on bikes that are, just trying to help out, I guess. I appreciate the game giving the player unlimited ammo for this segment, otherwise you'd be kind of boned. The truck itself is not too hard to take out, surprisingly. Once you take out the turret on top, it's kind of useless. I did experience this funny glitch over and over again, and I just think it's funny. After you survive that bit and you're able to get away and take Sam to the doctor, and Polly decides to stick with Sam, so Tommy leaves to bring the truck back to the warehouse. During the mission, Tommy had mentioned earlier that he had some stuff to attend to after the job, and that was a dinner date with Sarah. Once you make it to her apartment, you get another great scene between these two. I love this scene. It really makes Tommy feel very human and not just like some badass one-dimensional mobster character.
You're late. Dinner's cold.
Work. Marry me.
Okay.
Tommy just went through one of the most death-defying experiences in his time with the family, and he's just happy to be alive. You can even see the change in expression for Sarah when she realizes the look on Tommy's face, just seeing how worn down he is, and not to mention wet and covered in blood from what he just went through. It's this family life and his love for Sarah that keeps Tommy Angelo relatable as a character and gives him clearer motivations than just enjoying the life of a mobster. He's clearly a compassionate man, and sometimes that compassion he has leads to some issues. Tommy meets with Salieri in the park and is informed that Frank has turned on the family and is on the run with the books. It would be the worst possible thing if the money man / consigliere turned on the family and gave the books to the feds. And when I say books, this refers to the record keeping of the Salieri family, or really just any mob crime family in general, I guess. Shows who's a part of the family, who's a made man, and who earns money for the family and how much they earn. So if you're like Al Capone and happen to be committing some form of tax fraud, the feds getting a hold of the physical receipts of the money involved is bad news, and that's just really simplifying everything. So Salieri tabs Tommy with taking Frank out. Tommy is obviously deeply conflicted about this, and then you are told to go see Vincenzo, who gives you a clean set of wheels and a Lupara to do the job with. You don't know exactly where Frank is, so there is some searching to do. First, we have to go to Biff's pawn shop again in Chinatown to see what he knows, and he directs us towards a Salieri associate named Little Tony. We go see Little Tony, and he directs you to a safe house that Frank is currently using, and Tommy heads up there to find it being defended by feds. Tommy hides nearby and watches as Frank exits the safe house and enters a car with the feds taking off. We have to tail him, but obviously not be seen. It's a good old-fashioned tailing mission. Luckily, it doesn't go on for too long. It does go on for quite some time, but not like an unbearable amount. This goes on until we follow him to the airport and we find out that Frank has taken off, so Tommy knows he only has a little bit of time to get this job done. You stop just outside the airport and sneak your way in. Ideally, you're trying to sneak all the way down to the hangar where Frank has been taken to board a plane. However, though, it did not work out for me this time. I was able to get halfway through it without being seen, but I was spotted in one of the buildings. After taking out the single guy who saw me, unfortunately, this alerts the rest of the guards. I simply just fucking booked it. Somehow, it worked. Tommy then heads into the hangar to confront Frank, and it's an integral scene for the game, so I'm just gonna let it play out.
The Don sent me.
I figured as much. I'm sorry it had to be you, Tommy.
Anything you want me to tell him?
I wish it could have shaken out better, but Morello finally came after me. It's okay. You can come out. Morello offered me a simple trade. The Don's account books for our lives and tickets out of this town.
You hand the books over yet?
I'm not so stupid, Don. They're safe. Morello was waiting for this. It's a key to a box in the Grand Imperial Bank downtown. I told Morello I'd hand it over after the plane was fueled and ready to go. His men were meant to fetch it before we left.
I took care of them. Told them to get on a plane.
Go on march, Alice. Get aboard.
Frank, you're coming with us.
Not right now, honey. Just get buckled in. Tommy and I, we have some serious business to discuss.
But Frank...
Get on the plane, March. For Alice. For me. Get on the goddamn plane, please.
Christ, Frank. Why didn't you ask us for help?
I guess I just wanted out. One way or the other. I'm tired, Tommy. Tired of lying to my wife. Tired of checking under my car every time I take a Sunday drive. And tired of waiting for the dawn to put two in my temple.
God damn you, Frank.
So with Tommy being the compassionate family man on the inside, he now lets Frank go, just like he did with Michelle before, but this time he goes fully against the family to do so. Tommy then heads to the bank to grab the books that Frank was talking about. Because of this interaction between Frank and Tommy, people really believe that Frank is dead. There's even a funeral scene for Frank where we get Marco Morello and Salieri at the funeral together. This scene is interesting as we know that Morello is going to turn Frank and leverage that to get the books to the feds, so for him to show up at the funeral is pretty grand. Ultimately though, nothing happens from this interaction, but we do get introduced to Morello's right-hand man, his brother Sergio. The next handful of chapters will revolve around the rivalry with the Morello family. It's been mentioned numerous times how connected Morello is in the city with the politicians, and he also has a city prosecutor on his payroll. The next mission in the game has Tommy sent to infiltrate the house of that prosecutor and steal some documents that are detrimental to Salieri. The documents will be held in a safe, so Tommy is going alongside a man named Salvatore, who is literally fresh off the boat and barely speaks English. Salvatore's whole job is to crack the safe for Tommy. So this mission starts off as more of a stealth-focused mission, with the player having to navigate a garden maze to take out armed guards so that Salvatore can safely proceed. The stealth mechanics are fine, nothing to write home about. Sometimes the indicator for takedowns is misleading and it'll say you're close enough for a takedown, but then when you press B, you throw a punch and have to quickly spam it over and over again to knock the guard out before he shoots and raises the alarm. Once you make your way inside, you must scour the house looking for the safe, with the only intel being that the safe is hidden behind a portrait. So because of that, you have to go basically room by room, searching behind every portrait you see to try and find the safe. You have to move through the house and find the study or the office of the prosecutor, and there you have it. There's the safe behind the big portrait of the guy himself. Who could have thought? Salvatore does his thing and he cracks it open, but Tommy, being the impatient man he is, reaches in and sets off an alarm. This brings more muscle and also the police to the house, so you must then survive another combat sequence and fight your way out of the house while protecting Salvatore. You gotta get some wheels and make a getaway. Escaping from the cops this go around isn't too tough yet. The biggest pain in the ass getaway is yet to come, don't worry. The chapter after this is called Great Deal. This chapter focuses on the boys getting a new form of booze to sell. Paulie recently had befriended a guy at a bar named William Gates, and he's actually up from Kentucky selling whiskey to Morello. However, Gates had said that he was mistreated by the Morello family, and he wants to try to convince his father to change customers. So Paulie creates a plan with Gates that they will make a deal with Salieri, but stage it to look like a stick-up, thus making the Morello family look weak and ineffective at protecting their shipments, driving them to Salieri. We head to the parking garage to commit the deal, and just before that, we are introduced to Don Salieri's personal driver, a man named Carlo. He's pretty young and new to this game, so he's coming with us to get some time in the streets and be an extra pair of hands. We make it to the parking garage, and as you're going up each floor of this parking garage, you just know this is a prelude showcasing you how far you're going to have to fight to get out of here. You make it to the top of the parking structure and complete the exchange with Gates. Paulie, though, I think he failed to inform the others how exactly he planned to make it look like a robbery.
Now we just gotta conclude this transaction. Oh, damn it, Paulie!
No! It's okay. Oh,
What? I told you we gotta make it look like a proper robbery.
damn thing's gonna be crooked by the time I'm done with this city.
Ah, don't worry, pal. With all the dough you're raking in, you're gonna be able to pay for a new one.
Only, of course, Morello's guys do show up and attack you. You must fight ahead and pave the way for the truck to escape the parking garage. It's pretty tough, I'll admit, as the AI constantly throws Molotovs at you and they have some pretty constant suppressing fire. You fight and shoot your way down to the bottom of the parking garage, and Sam tells Tommy to tail the truck as protection. So now we must chase behind our truck of booze, defending it from the incoming vehicles filled with members of Morello's crew. Don Salieri is pleased with our success, and the boys celebrate a deal failed successfully. We then get our next intermission, jumping back into the present conversation between Tommy and Norman. Tommy explains that after that deal with the Kentucky bourbon, things began to improve for the Salieri family. Then, shortly thereafter, Prohibition had ended and things changed. The rackets changed from illegal booze running to restaurants, construction companies, trucking, even casinos, but never dealing in dope. Things had improved so much that Salieri was making moves to improve his influence within the city, not in a good way, mind you, but in a you be corrupt in our benefit kind of way. Detective Norman speaks up and tells the story about a local judge a few years ago that got caught on a charge of soliciting a minor, and he began singing like a bird trying to get a deal. Norman mentioning that this judge took money from both Salieri and Morello had piqued Tommy's interest. For once in their conversation, context provided by Norman changed Tommy's perspective, knowing this could have been a catalyst for Morello increasing his attacks on Salieri in 1935. What is Tommy talking about specifically, though? Well, in our next chapter, entitled Bon Appetit, Tommy has to drive Salieri to dinner at Pepe's. His usual driver, Carlo, who was introduced in the previous chapter, called in sick today. Interesting. This whole situation plays out exactly how you imagine. But before things go to shit completely, we have an interesting dialogue between Salieri and Tommy.
I'm glad you're off the roof, Tom.
Sarah threatened to leave me if I didn't dry out.
I know.
She told you.
No. I put her up to it. Drunkards get sloppy, Tom. I didn't want you to make a mistake we couldn't live with.
For you? And for you.
Peppy, the meal is a masterpiece as always.
Molto grazie, Don Salieri. Praise from such a gourmet as you, it filled me with joy.
You wouldn't call me a gourmet if you knew what I had for supper.
Get down!
What the hell? Morello! Bastard could have at least let me finish my wine.
Hey, Salieri! Come out of there and we'll make this quick. Smoke him out, Joe.
Shit, watch out!
That's right, it's a full-on attempted hit on the Don himself. That's easily the biggest escalation in the story thus far. Tommy protects the Don, and then the Don arms himself, and he'll occupy the enemies while Tommy flanks them through the back alley. Once you mow down your attackers, Salieri is filled with rage and orders Tommy to take him to Holbrook to find Carlo. Because Carlo happens to call in sick, and then this brazen attempt in public occurs on Salieri's life, just all too coincidental. So naturally, you go drive to Carlo's apartment and find him laying some gabagool, and he's scared for his life once he sees the Don and Tommy enter, so he makes his escape out the window and down the fire escape. You must then chase Carlo as he pleads for his life and mentions that Morello got to him and his family, and he threatened to kill Carlo's mom if he didn't give up Salieri. You shoot Carlo off a ladder and a cutscene starts, and it's just Salieri stomping his head into pieces. After this display of Salieri's temper, we then jump to a warehouse with Morello interrogating a union rep, and Sergio enters to inform him of the failed hit attempt.
Now, what about that other thing?
That's why I'm here. Salieri's still alive.
God damn it! What happened?
I don't know yet. Crew we sent is dead. Restaurant's all shot to hell.
Stop your crying. Trying to have a conversation here. What about the cockroach Carlo?
Found him with his head smashed in like a fucking watermelon. Never seen anything like it.
Salieri must have figured Carlo was the rat. God damn it. Even hear myself think.
It's gonna be a war.
I told you to shut the fuck up! We've been at war since we killed Papone. It's just out in the open now.
What do you want me to do?
Make your rounds. Tell little boys to keep their eyes peeled and their powder dry.
Okay. Put the word out.
So we get another display of Morello's character, and more importantly, his display of anger and frustration. So that's something that him and Salieri have in common, is that high temper. The next few chapters of this game will focus heavily on the war against Morello. When we start fighting back against him, we begin by attacking Morello's connections. In this mission, we're going after the councilman who's been mentioned a few times already throughout the story, a man named Galati or Gelati, not sure exactly how it's pronounced, they go both ways. We killed his son earlier in the story, so now it's time to complete the branch by taking out the father. To do so, Tommy must infiltrate his birthday party aboard a cruise ship. There, he will find a handgun that's been stashed away by someone on board that's on our payroll. Tommy will then grab the gun and assassinate the councilman while he gives a speech. This mission is fun and unique, not only because of the setting, but also because it feels more like a Hitman game for a second, and I love those games. You have to navigate the decks of the ship to find where the gun is hidden, and during this time, there's actually another worker on board who recognizes Tommy somehow and confronts him. So you have to fight him and knock him out, and if you're playing as me, you toss him overboard. Tommy is then able to find the janitor and also find where he hid the gun. Tommy takes his position above the stage, and somehow Galati doesn't notice the guy standing pointing a gun at him from up top, but whatever. You take the shot, drop him, and have to fight and run your way off the boat. Polly and Sam take a speedboat up to the side, so you hop in and make your escape. Pretty simple, pretty easy, still a solid mission. So now with that, we will see the walls that Morello has built over the years are going to start crumbling down chapter by chapter. The next mission, entitled You Lucky Bastard, centers around the Salieri crew retaliating against Don Morello for his attempt on Salieri's life. This chapter is also where we're going to see more of Tommy's conscience and his internal issues with the life of a mobster coming to the forefront again. Tommy is then tasked with eliminating Morello's top earner and brother, Sergio. To do so, you will take an explosive device from Vincenzo and go to Sergio's house and take a page from the old Emerald Isle playbook. They're going to blow up his car with it.
It's safe to carry.
Yeah, just don't drop it. Shake it, smoke near it. Yeah, it's safe. Boom!
Get it done, Tommy. For all our guys Morello's killed. And for all the money he's taken out of our pockets.
I'll take care of it, boss.
Tommy makes his way over to Sergio's house and sneaks past the myopic guard on duty who doesn't notice Tommy somehow. Once you plant the bomb, Tommy goes to the payphone across the street to make sure the job is completed. Only there's a slight hiccup, as it turns out Sergio isn't home at all and the car doesn't belong to him possibly, or maybe someone else is using it. Regardless, a woman comes out, gets in the car, which Tommy freaks out and tries to warn her, but it's too late and it blows up, sending Tommy back a few feet right on his ass. Neighbors then crowd around the burning vehicle in horror, and Tommy also is horrified over what he just did. This is that moment I was talking about earlier where Tommy is coming to terms with the fact that other people get hurt by this business, and sometimes those people are never the intended target. It's between this, the moment with Michelle, Frank Coletti, and even with Gelati's son that Tommy has some reservations about taking a life, and as the main character of this story, it sets him apart. Back to the story though, Tommy is still visibly distraught over the car bombing as he is then directed to join the boys en route to a diner where they have confirmation of Sergio's whereabouts. The boys lock and load and head inside to finish the job, but of course, Sergio's a lucky bastard. It's in the name of the chapter after all. There has been a few other attempts on Sergio's life that have failed, such as Vincenzo and Sam chasing him down a few nights before that ended with them ramming a tree. Tommy, however, not giving up just yet, is in hot pursuit on a motorcycle.
Motherfucker! Oh, he's gone! Go get him, Tommy! Come on! Let's get back to the car. We gotta catch up before that idiot gets himself killed.
I will say though, the motorcycle is a pain in the ass to handle, just not very fun to me. Fuck that thing. You give chase on this bullshit little motorcycle until Sergio makes it to a train yard, as this is his last stand where all of his men are ready to defend him. So naturally, the combat is hectic and even challenging because there are some men perched up on vantage points with the bolt-action rifle that can deal some serious damage to you if you don't notice it. And like I said earlier, the enemies will do a lot of work to flank you and flush you out of cover, so that mixed in with basically a sniper trained on you at all times makes it a little more challenging. Other than that, it's fun and simple. Just defeat the goons and hunt down Sergio. He's also throwing everything he has at you. At one point, you return the favor by sending a fucking train into a warehouse. You fire and take down Sergio towards the back of the warehouse and prepare to finish the job. Sergio pulls out a gun and tries to fire at Tommy, but he's out of ammo. Tommy then aims and prepares to finish the job himself, but he too is out of bullets. Sergio's luck continues to run. However, though, Sergio's luck has actually run out. As he tries to chat shit to Tommy for having no ammo, Tommy remembers that one really good crab episode of Love, Death, and Robots, and he decides to finish the job with the help of the old Zippo. Tommy drops the lighter and books it, and I will call bullshit on the distance Tommy gets before the whole place goes up. Because he dropped the lighter and Sergio started burning immediately, and then it cuts to Tommy far, far, far away in the train yard before it actually blows up. It's a really minor nitpick, but I would accept it if you told me there's actually more than one Tommy Angelo and they're doing this all for the greater good.
Shut it!
Anyways, now that we have literally cooked the golden goose of the Morello family, it's time to finish this in the next chapter. The next mission is entitled Creme de la Creme. It's in reference to the fact that the theater or the opera house that Morello is exiting in the mission is considered the creme de la creme for the city. All the city's elites are in this theater for a show that Morello is putting on. I love this mission. It's seriously one of my favorites in the entire game, along with the farm mission earlier in the game. The situation is given the proper sense of gravity just based off how the named characters are talking, but also the way the NPC characters are talking at the compound. Like, this is a huge momentous day for the family, as not only are they one death away from ending this war, but also one step closer to basically having full control over the city. Obviously though, things are not going to be that easy. As soon as we get near the theater, Polly and Sam lean out preparing to fire at Morello, and Morello must have been eating his fair share of carrots because he sees us right away and ducks into a vehicle and takes off with us giving chase. We follow Morello for long enough and can see that he's heading for the airport, and that means we're running out of time to take him out. It has to be today or else Don Salieri will be pissed with us. So naturally, this turns into a big shootout at the airport. You can't sprint your way through this one, so Tommy must work with Sam and Polly to take out the gangsters before you can get to Morello. Morello is also one slippery bastard, as just when you think you've got him cornered in the back of a hangar, you realize he's loading into a plane and is preparing to take off. Tommy then has to shoot out the engines and take the plane down, and this does remind me of that one Grand Theft Auto 5 mission where you basically do the same thing, because the plane does not go down immediately, of course. This forces us to follow the plane while it goes down so that we may finish the job as soon as it crash lands, which this chapter made me notice one funny minor aspect about this game and its driving, and it's how the passengers in your car react to your driving. When Tommy hits other cars, the passenger will make an angry remark about your driving and then just be like, anyways, or Where was I? And it can result in some funny moments like this.
We see where it lands, we rush in, all guns blazing, and we finish them off. No, you got a death wish or something? So what was I saying? Oh, right. No way that bird's staying in the sky.
When the plane finally does touch down, we exit the car and find a burnt-up Morello clinging onto life. I would say it's rather fitting for a man known for such a fiery temper and pristine white suit to go down in a burning plane that left him almost unrecognizable. After Tommy finishes the job, the chapter concludes, and with it, the war with the Morello family is done. We then cut back to the diner conversation with Norman and Tommy, and Norman is shocked as Tommy admits to him that he was the one that killed Morello. Again, if you might have forgotten, Detective Norman was solving the Morello case. His whole goal was to find out who killed Morello. The guy who killed Morello is sitting right in front of him.
You fucking phantom. I've been chasing you for 3 goddamn years. You do life for this, Tom. Maybe you in the chair.
You don't want the guy who was punching tickets. You want the guy who was handing them out.
So that's what this has been all about, huh? You offering up Salieri.
The Don's books. The ones Frank stole. I have them. They're enough to put Salieri away forever, and they're yours. Assuming we have a deal. My family for the Don.
So obviously, that's what this is all about. Tommy was gearing Norman up with the backstory on his dealings with Salieri and his criminal history and his ties to the Morello case. Tommy has enough information both in his memory and also physically, thanks to those books he got from Frank, to get Salieri behind bars and hopefully guarantee safety for Tommy's family. As I've mentioned numerous times throughout the video, Tommy's family life and his inner conflict that's been building with each course of action done for the mob is starting to come to a head here. Tommy starts to see how the tasks he completes for the Don are seen differently by those outside of the mob and, more importantly, his wife Sarah, because our next mission is a pretty big one. Probably the biggest pain in the ass in the game, but it's the next step in Tommy realizing that he wants out of this life. In this next chapter, Tommy is tasked by Salieri to assassinate a politician that plans to go after organized crime families such as the Salieri family. The politician, named Hank Turnbull, is giving a speech somewhere in the city, and Tommy will have to go to a nearby abandoned prison and make his way up to a guard tower, and once he's there, he will find a stashed away rifle, and it's simple: kill Hank Turnbull. The process of getting to the guard tower is a bit of a slow, annoying process. This prison is seemingly being used by some people as a form of housing. I don't really get the situation that's going on here. So people think you're a cop trying to evict them, so at times some of the vagrants may attack you, but other than that, they don't even bother you. One woman actually gives Tommy directions on how to get to the tower. Just like in the parking garage earlier in the game, as you're making your way up the tower, you just know you're gonna have to fight your way out of this maze, and I was not looking forward to it. You get up top, pretend you're playing Sniper Elite, and you take out Turnbull. This then starts the great escape out of the prison. However, though, Tommy gets knocked out for a short period of time after he falls when the platform gives out from under him. Tommy then wakes up with the prison now crawling with police. You know how I've been referencing the fact that some of the getaways you gotta do can feel like a real pain in the ass because of how many cops there are and because they're all fast and ridiculously accurate? This right here was the most difficult thing by far in the whole game. There's lots of cops, you have a high wanted level because you did just assassinate a notable politician, and there's no unlocked cars nearby for you to quickly get away. So oftentimes you will make a dash to that first vehicle you see, whether it's the cop car or that beige vehicle in front. The time it takes for you to get into that car, you're already being pelted with shots and it's deadly. You literally have the maximum wanted level possible, and at that point, they're not even going to try and take you in alive, they're just trying to kill you. You may get in the car and try to take off in one direction, but it's blocked, so you have to go right, and most of the time they catch right up to you and just take you out. And if you get out of that fuckery by the exit, you have numerous checkpoints around the area that will block you or just spot you to keep the search going. It doesn't take long to lose that wanted level, but fuck man, it's difficult when every intersection there's a row of cops. You know what? Just fuck it, play the montage. Then, finally, once you make it out of there in one piece, you can return home to Sarah. The conversation shows how close-minded Tommy has become working for the Dawn, and how he is now just realizing that this line of work is really only beneficial to the criminals that inhabit it. Sure, you're told that this politician guy, Hank Turnbull, is a hard ass and that he's going to go after Salieri, so it's like, he's a shitbag politician, but he's just not our shitbag politician, so he has to go. Then, to other people, like Sarah, the man was a highly respectable politician for doing work on the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. Tommy not knowing what the 19th Amendment was just a chef's kiss of a moment, as you see the look on his face as he realizes that people will interpret the actions of organized crime differently. He sees how this action affects his wife, and that stands as another big moment for Tommy to eventually change his ways. However, though, we're not quite there yet. The next mission is entitled Just for Relaxation, as we must complete another deal for Salieri. This next mission is a bit of a slog because it requires more stealth, but not in the same manner as when you were working with Salvatore earlier. You must sneak into a customs warehouse where some crates of Salieri's were confiscated. Those crates belong to us and are filled with Cameroonian cigars, but underneath those cigars are actually diamonds that Salieri wants and ordered. So we have to sneak our way into the customs warehouse and find the crates. This requires us to sneak around and take out some guards, and the end result of the mission is critical for this story, but the gameplay itself for this mission does bog down the pacing in my opinion, because you go from a highly intensive getaway and then go into a late night stealth segment. On the way to the warehouse, Paulie makes mention that he's been scoping out the Grand Imperial Bank for a heist. He feels really confident in his plan to rob it, and he just needs some solid backup in guys like Tommy and Sam to watch his back. Notably though, he wishes to keep this away from Don Salieri so that they can enjoy more of the profits. Both Tommy and Sam tell him to let it go if he plans to go about it that way, because if Salieri finds out, then it's a bigger problem. It's annoying, like I said. You should try to avoid confrontation by any means, and I mean that. You should avoid even trying to stealth take down the guards because you'll just get caught most likely. The game kept baiting me with the B button icon popping up to initiate the stealth takedown, but it would result in Tommy throwing a punch, and if one guy shoots at you, the alarm goes off, ending the mission. Luckily though, the game gives you an easy route to avoid the enemies and infiltrate the warehouse, which is only half the battle, as you then need to search for documents lying around that will pinpoint the exact crates you need to steal. Just like when we had to look for Michelle earlier in the hotel, the game does not tell you directly where the crates are. You have to find them, but luckily it's not that difficult. I just find it bogs down the experience. Once you find the crates of diamonds/cigars, you load them into the back of a truck and take off right as the alarm sounds anyways, sending the boys into a panic as they take off with guards firing at them. The getaway from the customs house is pretty easy. The police don't chase you nearly as much as they did with the death of Turnbull or even the attack on St. Michael's Church. There is just a lot of checkpoints everywhere, and you'll have to avoid them. So you're constantly checking your minimap to maneuver around them to get out of like the vicinity of the warehouse to completely get away. Once we make it back to the warehouse with the crates, things do get interesting though.
Yeah, a couple of these crates are shot to shit though.
How bad is it?
It's the worst of it.
It don't look too good. Don's gonna be pissed if we ruined any of the cigars.
What the hell?
Christ. It's dope.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Where are the diamonds?
There ain't any. This is the real score.
No. No. Don said we would get diamonds.
You can open every box. You're not gonna find them.
We put our fucking necks out on the line for this shit.
Looks like it.
The boys are devastated at this revelation because Don Salieri had mentioned much earlier in the game that dope is the one thing that they will never touch. So to see Salieri get to this point of being probably the most powerful man in the city, he gets right into the dope business and his crew begins expanding. Don Salieri actually arrives at the warehouse to ensure that the package was brought back to the warehouse, and Tommy and Paulie try their best to hide their contempt for the Don after they put their necks on the line for drugs. Salieri is also acting shady by not letting Tommy and Paulie unload the crates and inspect them, as he insists these other no-name guys will deal with it. Sam then drives the Don back to the bar, and Tommy and Paulie decide to walk home and take the train. This is where we get another interesting sequence and a great conversation between two characters. While I dislike this chapter because the mission and the gameplay is a downshift in terms of action and excitement as opposed to the one before it, this chapter does allow Paulie to shine as a character, and also his voice actor Jeremy Luke shines as well. I love this scene because it shows some growth from Paulie as a character. Before, I mentioned he was this guy that loved the life of being a mobster for all the glory it brings with the money and the women, but as time goes on, that doesn't hit the same. As time goes on, characters like Paulie or Frank become dissatisfied with this way of life. There's a sense of fear in their everyday lives, and they want out. Paulie wants to do his own thing. He wishes with this score from the bank heist that he'll make enough money to get himself out of the life, and he's also tired of risking his life for Don Salieri, especially considering how the Don has gone back on his only rule of not dealing in dope.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like for you going home to your wife and kid, but that's why I'm doing this. Who's gonna marry me? Nearly 40 years old and nothing to show for it but my rap sheet. But we do this, I get enough scratch to finally get out? Who knows?
You're not built for the domestic life, Paulie. If you're 6 months in, you'll put a bullet in your brain out of boredom.
Christ. I'm ready to punch my ticket right now. We sit around for 6 months, just playing cards and busting balls, and I start to get lazy. Then everything blows up, and I gotta knock the rust off or I'm dead. One day I'm fighting to stay awake while the Don's telling us a story about the old days. One I've already heard 100 times, and the next day I'm getting shot at, trying to keep from shitting my pants. It's fucking wearing me out, Tommy.
So you're looking for the big one, though?
I know it's a snipe hunt. Every little mobster goes to bed dreaming about that last big score. But if we do this thing, I don't know. Might be just enough to get me a little pizzeria or something, you know?
Sure. But if we're doing this, we're waiting until things calm down.
Ah, you're already hooked, pal.
Maybe.
So a special shout out to Jeremy Luke, as he is a standout in this cast. And with that, there's now just 2 chapters left in this story. It's time to crank this bitch up to 11 because the next chapter is entitled Moonlighting, and it's all about the bank heist that Paulie wants to do. Tommy agrees to help Paulie with the heist, as the money they make would be life-changing, and they especially want to make some money free of the Don given the revelation in the previous chapter. The 2 men head down to the Grand Imperial Bank and head inside and start firing at the ceiling and gaining control of the situation. Tommy then has to find the bank manager to get into the vault downstairs. Turns out, you don't even need the manager. You head down to the vault, and there's some extra guards down there that ambush you, and you have to take them out before going into the vault. Tommy grabs the money, but there's some more cops showing up outside, and you and Paulie have to work together to shoot your way out of there. As far as bank heists go, it's very simple and smooth, and the escape is also pretty simple and smooth. Again, not as big of a piss-off as the Hank Turnbull situation, but there are more roadblocks, so you have to keep an eye on the mini-map, just like in the other mission, to get around them. Tommy and Paulie escape the cops and survive, and Tommy brings Paulie to the Palermo Club, which is owned by Sam. They go there to hide the money and lay low. Paulie says he'll speak to Sam about stashing the money there until it's safe to grab it. And that brings an end to our penultimate chapter, and we will move into the final chapter of our game, which is called The Death of Art. This is it. This is the end of the game. The chapter begins with Tommy and Sarah talking in the kitchen, and Tommy is acting strange as he's jittery, and Sarah immediately notices that something is off. And again, I love the chemistry between these 2 characters. Tommy says that Sarah needs to pack her things and pack up the daughter's things as well, as when he gets back from Paulie's, they're gonna go. Tommy tells Sarah that she needs to pack her things and also pack up the daughter's things as well. He's going to go to Paulie's to go visit him, but we know he's just going to go grab the money that they got from the heist, and then him and Sarah are going to run away. He doesn't tell Sarah that verbatim, but we all know that's what he's trying to do. Tommy then takes off towards Paulie's apartment, and when you arrive there, you can hear some of his neighbors complaining about some sound from last night, and, you know, maybe Paulie got lucky and spent some of that newfound cash on a woman of the night.
God, Jesus. Paulie. Polly.
So Polly is now dead, popped with 2 in the head like it was foreshadowed earlier by Don Salieri when he was correcting his mistakes with those punks. As Tommy is standing over Polly's dead body, Sam calls as he says he was trying to warn Polly about the Don finding out about the unsanctioned bank heist they did and that he was unfortunately too late. Sam then coordinates with Tommy what they can do to sort this mess out. He tells Tommy to meet him at the art gallery in town as they will plan things together. Tommy is understandably very frantic and he heads right over to the gallery to meet Sam, and when you arrive, things are a little off.
Don't move, Tommy.
Shit.
Hey, Tom.
Sam. What the hell's going on?
You and Polly put me in a bad spot.
I know, Sam, and I'm sorry about that, but I need to get out of town. Can you help me or not?
There you go again. Making me choose between my friends and the family. This is what you were looking for, Polly's. Here's your cut. It's more than you deserve.
Sam. You killed him. You killed Polly.
No. Polly got himself killed.
And you seem real tore up about it.
I'm just in a good mood. Things are right between me and the Don. I'm moving up, and I just found this big bag of money. The Don knows about Frank, Tom. The whore, too.
That whore? The girl you were sweet on?
You're the one that let her live. I'm sorry about this, Tom. But our business has rules. Shame, too. Don Salieri really liked you. Guess we'll both have a good cry at your funeral.
You think you're doing this because you're loyal, but you're not. You're just scared.
Maybe. But you would have lived a lot longer if you would have just looked over your shoulder from time to time. Goodbye. Don't let him suffer, boys. He's my buddy.
So there you have it. Sam killed Polly for the Don, and he did so because Polly betrayed the family, and Sam was not happy for the guys putting him in a tough spot. Tommy is angry because he himself puts it together that Sam was the one that killed Polly, and he's heartbroken over it. You could tell though that Sam was at his wit's end when it came to Polly and his antics. You could see this shift in personality for both Sam and Polly towards the end of the game. As I've mentioned a few times, Polly was this character that enjoyed the life and enjoyed the things that it brought and didn't care about the danger at first. I also said that Sam was the one that was more loyal and grounded, and now it's clear that he was loyal to a fault and feels he should be loyal to the Don for his own safety. I mean, personally, I could tell just by looking at Sam's mannerisms and the way he was talking to Polly during that conversation about the bank heist when they were on the way to the warehouse. Although Sam is 100% turning his back on you despite Tommy having saved his life 3 times, he can't even sit and watch you die. He turns away as he tells the 2 nameless Jamooks to take you out. Tommy then turns into a fucking elite soldier out of nowhere and he gets out of that pickle, and this begins our game-ending shootout. I mean, this last mission is as simple as it gets. Murder everyone in the gallery and get to Sam and kill him. The highlight of this mission is the fact that the setting is interesting. Mafia 2 does it as well by making the game-ending shootout take place in an observatory/planetarium. I think the observatory is cooler, but the art gallery is still a neat place in terms of design, and it looks really good in this game. As you keep advancing and taking out the hired muscle, Sam gets more and more worried about you catching up to him. He says to his guys that whoever takes Tommy out will instantly become a made man and be put into the books. Finally, as time goes on, you kill off the last of his thugs, and it's down to you and Sam, and Tommy finally ends him. The game then immediately cuts to a cutscene where Sam will try to get Tommy to spare his life. He sits up against a balcony bleeding out, and he seemingly chastises Tommy for not being loyal to the Don and the family. He blames Tommy for not having the killer instinct he needs, and that his lack of follow-through has led to problems with the Don. Sam states that the Don already knows about the fact that Tommy did not kill Michelle at the hotel, which is bogus for Sam to bring up considering how he did that specifically for him. Sam then also says that Salieri knows about Frank getting out alive. However, though, Sam also implies that all of them are now dead. Sam mentions that Frank was seen by some family associates when he was at a dog track in Italy. Frank was murdered, and Sam implies that his wife and daughter were too, and that's where Tommy has had enough. The rest of the scene will bleed into the epilogue of the game, so I'm just going to let it play out. I'll talk to you in a few seconds.
You can't do it, can you? Always that little voice in the back of your head. Maybe sounds like your baby girl. Or Sarah. Always telling you not to pull that trigger. And you can't make up your mind.
It's getting easier every time you open your fucking mouth.
We sure had some laughs, right? Remember that time? Me, you, and Polly.
I sympathize with the situation, Tom, and I want to help your family, but I can't do anything unless you're willing to testify in court. You understand that, right? You'll have to sit in that box, stare down Salieri, Ralphie, Vinny, maybe even Sarah's father. I don't know if you got the stones for it, if I'm being honest.
I'll do what needs to be done. But you need to get my family new identities and ship them far away from here.
Well, hold on. There's a long road between us sitting here bumping gums and Sarah sleeping under new stars.
Then I'm sorry I wasted your time. And mine. I gotta get out of town.
Look, Tom. I got a family too. Wife, 4 boys.
All Irish twins.
Yeah. So you know I understand what you're going through. All the worrying over them, the fear that one of them's gonna go before you do. With this case, it'll be one of the biggest this city has ever seen. It could drag on for years. I don't know if I can protect you for that long, not the way things are downtown.
Everyone's gotta eat, right? Even dirty cops.
Just being honest here. There's a few bodies I can trust downtown, but not many. And if it comes down to you or me taking a bullet, I'm not gonna make my wife a widow. Keeping you alive ain't exactly the moral course, but I'll try.
That's a pretty good sales job. Trying to make me think you got nothing on the line. But this is your whole career right here. However it works out for me, whether I live or die, you get to crack the Morello case and take down a Don. Salieri will be your legacy.
Don't go thinking you know me, Tom. Salieri belongs behind bars. I'll help you so long as you help me put him there. That's all this is.
Then that has to be enough. A long time ago, in another life, someone once told me that family is a man's Achilles heel, his greatest weakness. Maybe he was right. Because everything I've done, both good and bad, I've done for my family. I've turned my back on people I thought were my friends. I've kept a lot of hard promises. I spent 8 years totally alone, trying to find myself so I could come home. A better husband, a better father, a better man. Now that I'm a lot older and just a bit wiser, I see that family is our greatest weakness, but it's also our greatest strength. It gets us out of bed in the morning. It lets us chase our dreams, even when they're moving too fast to catch. It keeps us from falling over when we're too tired to take another step.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Mr. Salieri sends his regards.
Tommy!
That's okay. You're safe now. You're all safe. Remember that money, jobs, even best pals will come and go. But family is forever.
And there you have it. That was Mafia, the Definitive Edition. A fantastic story filled with drama, action, and fantastic storytelling. This is a game that boasts having great graphics, better cutscenes, stellar voice acting, and gameplay that strongly replicates the world of 1930s America. Hangar 13, I mean, all of its studios deserve praise for how well this game was made. The characters, both major and minor, are written well, and I love the growth of the three main characters shown in the story. I think they made the best decision in remaking this game entirely rather than just doing an attempt at remastering. Building the game from the ground up resulted in characters looking and sounding different, but it's done in benefit of the game's story and its characters. The voice cast of this game is nothing that jumps out to you immediately. Besides this game, most of its key cast members do not have a lot of notable work, but that actually reminds me of why I enjoy the art of acting and voice acting. Because while these people may not play major characters in movies or even TV shows, some of them maybe show up in like one episode or a handful of episodes, but they're just minor characters that don't impact the plot beyond the episode they're in. When they're given a chance to do something different, like voice acting for a game like Mafia, they get a chance to shine and be an integral part of a story. They knock it out of the park, which is a true testament to their skills as an actor. Throughout the video, I have mentioned a few names that I really liked in this game. Andrew Bongiorno did an amazing job as Tommy Angelo. Jeremy Luke did really well as Paulie, as the character with probably the most growth in the game. He gets a chance to convey several different emotions, and it's very critical to the story. Other names I wish to include are Damian Clark, who voices Detective Norman. Even though his part is short, only ever being seen in those intermezzos and the opening, Clark delivers a strong, notable performance. He displays this typical hard-nosed Irish cop that is not crooked and wants to do things by the book. When he's talking to Tommy in the diner, you can see that he's a very pragmatic character, and it helps making the story feel grounded. He's not the pure solution to the problem, but he's the best chance Tommy has to fix it. Damian Clark is probably best known as the voice of Handsome Jack in Borderlands 2, which blows my mind that it's the same guy.
I will pay you to kill yourself. I've got a perfect spot all picked out for you. And you don't want to? That's fine. Call the Hyperion Suicide Prevention Hotline and you'll get nothing. But if you want a huge reward, you jump off that cliff and become my bitch.
The last person I wish to mention is Bella Popa, or Papa. She voiced Sarah in this game, and while she does not have many credits to her name in general, and nothing too notable from my perspective, I will say she flat out killed this role. I thought she portrayed a very loving and understanding wife who was tougher than given credit for. I also found her voice acting to make her character very endearing because of her chemistry with Tommy Angelo. I just felt like it was done well, and it made the relationship believable and makes it an integral part to the story. Mafia is a great game. This game, along with its sequel Mafia 2, are the best examples when it comes to a story within the world of organized crime. They are the quintessential examples of that subgenre, specifically in the world of gaming. Mafia is a short story that may share some vague similarities with its contemporary scene in other forms of media, but it tells such a fantastic story that it stands on its own entirely. If I had to give the game a final ranking, it's a solid 8.5 out of 10. If the game maybe had a bit more going on in terms of its mission, characters, and story, it would be a for sure 9. I think the game suffers from some jank in the shooting, but that very well could be a skill issue. I just think it's worth mentioning. I also think the story has some pacing issues, some slight stutters, as each time it feels like you're ramping up to something, there's a mission that slows it back down. I look at the Salvatore mission and the Diamond Heist mission as the two biggest culprits of that. Even with a score of 8.5 out of 10, that sets the tone pretty well for its sequels that we will discuss in the coming months. So with that being said, if you're watching to this point in the video, thank you so much first and foremost. It means the world to me that people enjoy these videos and can share in the experience of talking about games we love. I think these videos are enjoyed better from a perspective of having already played the game, because then you get to see the different things I liked and disliked compared to you, and also the other people in the comments as well. Because you could be in a position where you may not know a lot of people that have played something like Psychonauts 2 or Mafia, so you don't get to have those conversations about these games, so that's why I make these videos. Hell, even if you've never played this game or any of the others covered on the channel, maybe you just want to save yourself some money or just learn about a game you never played, now you got an in-depth look into the game and have the amount of knowledge as if you did play the game. But with all that being said, we are now at the end of the video. I thank you so much for watching to this point, and if you liked the video, I will implore you to click the like button, and if you happen to like this type of content, I recommend subscribing if you haven't already, as we continue growing this fun community. So with that being said, I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next video on Mafia 2.